Peace and blessing, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Dear Black Woman podcast. Now, this is a space where Black women's stories are honored, healing is spoken out loud, and our truths take center stage. Now, today, we are deeply honored to have yet another co-author in the Dear Black Woman anthology project, Miss Loren A. Simone. Now, in this heartfelt episode, Loren is going to share her journeys of becoming the loving, nurturing mother she always needed for herself. Now, through her beautiful letters, she has shared her inner child. Loren writes words of comfort, acceptance, and unconditional love. Loren's story is a powerful exploration of remothering, healing childhood wounds, and reclaiming her true sense of self. Now, she opens up about how she's learned to set boundaries, embrace her emotional needs, and truly love herself without shame. So, without further ado, let's welcome Loren to the stage. Hello, Loren.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Can't complain.
Now, y'all, Loren is one of those authors that I leave alone and I don't really mess with her because she's also an educator. So I'm sensitive about our educators. If you mess with Loren, you're going to feel me, okay?
Listen. And we love it.
Listen, these are people shaping and molding y'all children. So if you mess with them, you know, that you put your kids in a dangerous situation. So no, I'm pretty sure she is just as loving to your children as she is in person and with other people. Loren, first of all, thank you so much for sharing your profound story with us and allowing us to actually publish this letter. The concept of remothering myself is at the heart of your journey. Can you describe what that felt like deep down when you first truly understood this path was and, you know, what you needed to embark upon?
Oh, that's a good question. I would have to say I came upon this realization about, I would say early 20s, because I'm about to enter my late 20s, but early 20s. And I noticed that there was this block, you know, there. And I was like, okay, I've always been a very loving person, everything else, but I just felt like there was just something so empty. And I have a great relationship with my mother. I love my mother dearly. We're really best friends. But I noticed, I was like, these are the ways that she did not show up for me, you know, and this is of no fault to her own. This is her first try at life as well. So there's things that she didn't know. But once I realized, like, okay, this is what I needed, she could not give that to me. So what am I going to do about it? So I spent like that first part of trying to figure out what was going on. Of course, you get mad at first and you're like, why couldn't you do this for me? Why? Because to us, it just makes sense. Like all you had to do was X, Y, and Z. This is all I needed you to do. But in that moment, they're not thinking that same way.
Yeah.
I had to, after getting mad, I said, okay, so what can we do about it? And I said, well, you're going to have to learn how to do this for yourself. And it really allowed me to have grace for her and to forgive her for those missteps and to honor what she was able to do and use what she was able to do to help me kind of fix or implement or supplement the areas that needed that mothering the way that I needed it. So it's kind of how I came.
So your childhood self, you called whimsical, you know, saw vibrancy everywhere.
Yes.
Was love in the flesh, which I absolutely love. Okay. Like that statement right there was one of my favorite, and I'm gonna be using it so you know, okay? Because that's literally how I'm going to start describing myself. Love in the flesh. Okay. Yes. What was the emotional experience of recalling that pure, unburdened essence of that little Loren as you wrote your letter?
Wow. I did not expect to get that emotional. I would have to say it was just one of those like almost effervescent type moments. It was just so pure because as a child, like, you know, you just living. You really don't recall much until, you know, a little bit later on. But just thinking back on like, how I would love to do, certain
Mm-hmm.
just like, how most little girls do. They like to dance around. They like to do this. They have interest in so many things. And I was that person. I loved painting. I loved this. I loved that. And before, the world started to interfere and I started having other voices say, oh, well, you can't do because of X, Y, and Z, you know, I just felt like the world was my oyster. So I just recall all of those times where I just felt, free, and how my brother and I would go and play together, and how we didn't have like any type of inhibition. It was just, it was just us in our raw and purest form. And it was just the sweetest thing. And I'm like, oh, because that's the person I want to get back to. That girl right there.
Yeah. Now let's flip that a little bit, because my next question actually deals with what you said about being raw in the purest form, about being free. But you also experienced moments where you were told to shrink yourself.
Yes.
So how did that message subtly or overtly, because we all have experienced that,
Yes.
if it came from within the house or from outside of the house,
Yes.
like how did that impact your spirit, and what was the internal struggle to break free from that perceived need to dim your light?
Wow. I would say, because it was overt. And I'll make that, very clear, because I know I can't speak for everyone, but I have older, I guess you say older parents, older grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
So the limitations of girlhood, womanhood that, especially my grandmother experienced, she kind of put it
Yeah.
on. And I think it was really more about a protective measure than it was anything else. And I was a talkative child. I loved to talk. I was just a little chatterbox. If I had an idea, like it was just all coming out. That was just how I was. Um, and then she would say things like, "Oh my goodness, like you were talking so much. Like, can you please, like, and I'm like, all right. So now I'm realizing being talkative is not a good thing. That's how I'm interpreting it. Um, or I'm, just, it was just so much, so many things. And I
Yeah.
was like a chubbier kid. And so, oh, you can't wear that. You can't do that. So I'm
Listen,
like, well, dang. So I'm like,
listen,
about
you
you is okay. Like,
look, let me tell you something. You preaching to the choir. So when you say that, like I'm feeling you all the way on that. Because even to this day, I'm 45 years old, and my primary parent was my father. My father's childhood nickname for me is Meat.
oh no, that's not okay. That is
So imagine at 45, he still calls me that. Okay.
that it brings back those
Yeah.
memories. You're like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
so I understand, and I get it. And so I carry that a lot with me. So I walked, and I still in some ways do. Oh my goodness. I walk in the world like, okay, I need to kind of hide under the radar. I need to not be so what's the word I'm looking for? I guess I don't want to say authoritative.
Outspoken,
Yeah, but it's like
singing,
I have
all
to,
of the,
because
yeah.
of my stature, because of this, I need to be a little bit more consumable. I need to be this. And then as I got older, I realized like that's not necessarily true.
No,
you know?
and you get it. Sometimes you get it, and we have to remember we carry trauma for 7 generations.
That's right.
So your grandmother's trauma became your trauma. Her
Right.
grandmother's trauma became her trauma, which also became your trauma.
Exactly.
So now you're not just carrying the weight of your world, you're carrying the weight of their world. And then as a Black woman, you going out into a world that's telling you
Yes.
that you don't fit the norm. And we all know now that
You're
we are
right.
the prototype. Okay.
Come on, somebody. And listen, when you just said that, I was like, oh my gosh, because I have said that to myself. I came to the realization throughout my healing journey and therapy and everything else. And I will always say, and I'm trying not to say it so much now so that it doesn't become a reality, but I always would say, I'm just so tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. And then I was like, why am I saying I'm tired so much? Like, why
Yeah.
am I saying that? And then I realized, I said, because I'm not just carrying my stuff. I said, I'm carrying theirs too. And once I realized that, I said, okay, so how am I going to live in a way that frees all of us from it? So that is kind of how I live now. So when I dealt with all of the things that caused me to shrink, I realized later on through college and everything else that I was facing things that they didn't face, but it was also to get me not to shrink myself. So it's a very sensitive thing, but I
Yeah.
also am noticing that my life's journey, my life's walk it mirrors my mother's and my grandmother's so much, but I'm doing the opposite. I'm
Yes.
not conforming. So it's a sweet thing.
And the crazy part is we have to give them grace
Yes.
because they didn't have the choices and the options that we have now. And we have to remember that, if they got out there and were outspoken and did some of the things that we currently do, they were faced with backlash, such as violence, being put
Yes.
in jail. Even your grandmother's grandmother, she had to watch her tone because it could have been something of, killing y'all entire bloodline.
Yeah, that is very, and I told my grandmama that too. And in so many ways, because I'm very sensitive, when it comes to her. But certain decisions I make, and sometimes she may not, fully understand, but I always put in there that I understand that now I have options because for her and for the women before her, this was their livelihood.
Yeah.
So she has made a point, like, always have your own. Please do not make a man your end all be all. Like, she's put that on the inside of me.
What's crazy is the internal wars that we are currently having in the Black community.
Yes.
When it's the men versus the women.
Yes.
And the men are saying, oh, I want women that were like your grandmothers.
Yes.
Not knowing
not knowing
that our grandmothers are the ones who made us the women that we are today, because our grandmothers are the ones who told us, have your own, be independent, don't rely on a man for nothing. My grandmother is 96 years old, and I am so grateful to still have her around. She is my twin personality and body face wise as well. Okay. But let me tell you something about my grandmama. You know what? One of the most memorable moments for me with my grandmother was when I saw her knock her boyfriend out.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
And to this day, at 96, when I go sit with my grandmother to watch her from my aunts and uncles, that's something we talk about. And she tell me, like what to do, excuse my words, and this is gonna be one of them podcasts, and I'm gonna have to put an explicitory because my grandmama curses. So my grandma be like, "Fuck them men."
Listen, and that's the thing. So, like, when I wrote this, I was thinking all that was coming back to me. But I was in a place now where it didn't make me sad. I actually saw the purpose in it. And so when I was thinking of how my grandmother was, and my grandmother endured so much.
Yes.
Really to make sure that we
were able.
That we didn't have to. So I mean, some of that it did run off onto my mother, and it eventually ran off into me. But I don't know. I guess I got the sides of both my grandmother and my grandfather that was like, I'm not going to put up with that.
So you got to also remember, listen, your mom came up in a time as well. I don't know how old your mom is, but your mom came up in a time where things were not always good.
No, that's definitely true. She was born in 1964.
So we have to, some of the decisions that were made, that they made there. And you remember, as we grew up, our parents put their fears on us as well too.
That's very true. That is very true. And seeing that after, coming of age, and I realized a lot. My mom tried not to do it so much. She was one of those, as long as it wasn't illegal or if it wasn't going to harm us, she was fine. Like, of course, she was afraid, as any mother or parent would be, like, oh, I don't want nothing to happen to my child. But if we want to do something, she's like, sweetheart, go ahead and do it. Because she knows what she didn't do, and she didn't want us to, present our life, for what we did not have a chance to do. Now, my father was one of those, and is still in some capacity, when he does not understand or when he has an experience, he'll go and try to talk against it, what you shouldn't do because of X, Y, and Z. But I'm definitely that person now, because I've learned from my grandmother and my mother that, listen, I'm not going to be scared to go, across the world to go and travel, because anything could happen to me here. I could walk outside my door and something could happen. So something could happen in the house. I could fall and just bloop, that be it. Like, so I don't live with that fear, or try my best not to live by fear anymore.
So it's funny that you say that, because back in February, my destination for living was supposed to be Vietnam. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So unfortunately, and I'm not gonna say unfortunate, I'm gonna say God probably just directed me in a different direction right now, because
Not yet.
it's still in my heart. I still want to go. Okay. Y'all just keep me busy over here right now. Okay. But one of the things I heard from my family was, oh my God, why do you want to go all the way over there? That's a 21-hour flight. If something happens to you, nobody can get to you immediately. And I thought to myself, if something happens to me here, what if it's 2 o'clock in the morning? Nobody can get to me immediately either.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what, and I think that that's what really, even writing and facing of fear, little does anyone know.
Yeah.
But when I saw the application for it, I looked and I was like, should I? And I was like, no, because in my mind, the fear part was like, what if no one cares about what you have to say? Your story might not be that important. Like, this is your lived experience, might not be what other people need. But then I said, Loren, girl, like, you have a whole master's degree like in Africana women's studies. And this is what you study. You studied people's stories and lived experiences. So why not add to the lexicon? Why not add to the jargon and give other people, a story to which to see themselves? Because we are not a monolith.
Why not also add to the history? Because this book, my publishing company is registered with the Library of Congress. Mm-hmm. So this book is going to be registered with the Library of Congress as well. So this goes down in American history as stories that's being told by Black women.
Yes, and it is very important. And I think that that's what really got me. I said, you've got to get over that nobody thinks that your voice is important. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, we're going to do it. So when I was writing this, I said, oh my gosh, are we really going to release this? Like, are you going to put this out here, Lord? Like, are you going to really say these things? Because I had to come to terms with certain things. I'm not going to give it away, but there is a specific thing that I speak of in my story. And then I thought about, like, oh my gosh, when my family reads this, like, what are they going to think, but it is my hope that is received across, not just my family, but anyone who chooses to read it, that this was not a story to bash anybody, but to understand that you can always, how they say, make lemonade out of lemons.
Absolutely. Now listen, the core theme of your story is compassion, love, and healing. So how do you personally embody those things in your daily life? For instance, what does compassion for self look like for you when you're struggling?
Oh, that's very good. Because listen, the current moments. Okay. So I would say compassion now. I have always beat up on myself. And I think I do it because I was really taught to do it. Because as Black women, you're what the world says, you're only worth what you produce. So that was kind of my thing. And I always feel like if I'm not doing something, then I'm not useful.
So first of all, that is very true, because I work very hard to get Black women away from being associated with their titles.
Yes.
Meaning, who are you outside of what it is that you do? Who are you outside of that title? Mm-hmm. Like, who is that person, that little girl that's hiding behind that title?
Yes. And it's hard because we're taught to chase the title. And then once we get it, that's what we, take on. Mm-hmm. But having compassion now, sometimes I have to stop because my brain can run a mile a minute and it'll take that one little thing and it'll ruminate on it all day. But I will have to stop and I have to say, that is not true. You don't have to go and believe this about yourself. So what if you didn't achieve X, Y, and Z today? Is it really a necessity to achieve it? Or did you just want to have it done so that you could feel as though, your being deserves to be here? So I will say, it's all right. It's all right. And if we don't have it done today, it's okay. We can try again tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And if tomorrow doesn't come, then be all right with what you have done today. So absolutely. I that's what I do, because if not, you will carry it on, and it can just become a long, ball of string, like a big old ball of string. You just
Mhm.
over here just going and going. So that's what my compassion looks like now. I speak to myself much more kindly now than I used to. And I'll tell myself, oh my gosh, you're mine, girl. The thoughts that you have, like, oh my goodness, like when reading my story back to myself, I said, girl, you wrote that? Because I write it, I write at night. I don't know what it is. I could try to write during the day. It doesn't hit the same for me. I have to write completely at night. So I'll read it back maybe during the daytime, and I'm like, wow, this right here. It's like I don't even know like whose story is that?
Now listen, you not this not your first time around.
Uh,
You published a poetry book earlier in life. How
uh,
did that previous act of creativity sort of prepare you at a soul level for the
ooh,
vulnerability and the healing required to write this anthology piece?
I think what it really helped me do was be more comfortable with being honest. When I wrote that first set of poetry, I was really just writing because I had been writing kind of all my life. So I just was writing what I was feeling in the moment. It was kind of like a purge project in some ways. Like I just had a whole bunch of poems that I would write. And then I said, I'm gonna put these together. And I think I'm gonna self-publish it. Like that's what I think I'm gonna do. Um, and so I had to learn how to be really honest. Like even in those poems, my poems are probably more like raw and uncut because Loren the poet or Loren the writer in general is different from the Loren that is just going out about in her day. So I took that fierce honesty, and that is what prepared me to write this. So I didn't know where to start, kind of, when I started this project. But then as I got going, I said, "Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to say. I know how I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to feel sorry for it." And so writing that first project definitely helped me be unapologetic in what I wrote this time.
I love that. I love it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. As you were sitting here talking, all that I was thinking in my head was, I need to find Lauren's old book so she can do it. Watch this, so she can read one of those poems at the gala. Like that's
Listen,
literally
I think I have a copy because I took it down off of
okay.
Amazon. But I have the copy and it's still, on my Google Drive. So it's there. It exists.
Okay, you need to send me a copy of it because yes, ma'am. Yes,
It
ma'am. I'm gonna pick a
exists.
poem out that book and I'm gonna be like, oh, Lauren is on the program.
Listen, I will do it because when it was up for sale, a few people that I knew had bought it. Some of my neos had bought it, and they read it. My grandmother actually, I think my mom ordered it for she and my grandmother, and my grandmother read the entire thing, cover to cover, and she said this was amazing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and it really touched me. And I think I wrote it, at least the last part. I might have wrote it in letter form. Because she said, I love how you finished it. Until we meet again or until we talk again, it's like there's something else that's gonna come.
Okay,
So,
Lauren. Okay. You know what? You listen. You got the poetry book. You got the Dear Black Woman anthology. You lining them up. You gave
I'm
them
lying to listen. I was
yeah.
like, after this project, I said maybe I need to go back
Mm-hmm.
and like reconfigure. I think I would want to publish it differently this time, but I said I'll just reconfigure it a little bit and I'll put it out there because it was originally titled The Woman of Glass and Gold. And so I said I really love this piece of work. It was so freeing to me. So yeah, I'm down. I'll read a poem or two. I'll read one or two.
So y'all heard it. Y'all make sure y'all come to the gallery. I got it on record. Okay. So if she don't perform, pull her to the side and be like, ma'am, we heard you say you was gonna read a poem or two. Okay.
Listen,
Yeah.
I will though. It was so funny. Anytime I have to do a project, I will often opt to write. It is hilarious to me. Even in my grad program, I will never forget. I forgot what class. No, it was for a seminar in the African arts movement or the something arts movement. I can't even Black arts movement. There we go. And Dr. Black, who is a renowned professor and writer at Clark Atlanta, he said for our final project, he wanted us to create something, whatever that was. And, I said, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm not, the biggest drawer. I don't, sew. So I'm trying to think, like, what am I going to give? And I actually wrote a poem, I think, based off of The Bluest Eye, which is what we were reading.
Girl, that is one of my favorite books.
Yes,
we read. I can't remember what grade we were when we read that book, but I have reread that book,
and it is different every time, doesn't it? Yeah. Like, it is different. Tony,
that is one of my favorite, like one of my favorite teenage childhood. You just look, you just bringing up my inner child now.
Yeah, like when you read it as an adult, you're like, wow, because Toni, I love Toni Morrison, but I will tell anybody, she is a hard read. You do not, rush through Toni. You have got to sit with it. You gotta,
And sometimes you have to read it more than once.
Yes, she is definitely one of those people. And so I wrote my little poem, kind of based off of that. And I told him, I said, I was actually inspired by, Billie Holiday's Lady Sings the Blues. And so once I
you speaking to my soul.
I'm speaking to your soul.
Like, these are some of my favorite artists, some of my favorite artists, like my books, like, oh my girl, listen.
And I wrote it and everyone was like, oh my gosh. And even, walking to my car, Dr. Black was on one side and then it was another classmate of mine on the other. And he says, that was just magnificent. Like, how did you come up with that? I said, honestly, I couldn't tell you. I said, I write at nighttime and I just let it flow. I said, that's it.
You're definitely going ready to send me this book.
When I tell you, that's just how I operate. So
I'm getting on a flight tomorrow. Please email me that book tonight so I can read it while I'm on the airplane.
Listen. I will email you the copy over so that you can look at it and everything. And I'll also try to find that assignment that I was talking about. I'll send you that as well.
Yeah, because I want to read it. I'm a reader. So yeah. Listen, what does it genuinely mean for you, Loren, to embrace your emotional needs without shame now, especially when external pressures might suggest otherwise? And we know we all face those external pressures. So what does that mean for you now?
Can you not rephrase, but repeat that first part just again? I want to make sure I answer it.
For you to genuinely embrace your emotional needs without shame now.
Ooh, okay. So now, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's because I've gone through enough. Like, I don't know what it is, but now I don't have any shame about saying, I need this, and I will tell even like my best friend, I'll say, girl, like, I need to talk to you, like I need that, and we talk all the time. And I tell her, I'm just so thankful for you. I'm thankful that you're open, to just being with me in every season, girl, and if I need, some encouragement, you're there for me. Like, I'm very much so more open with it now because I know and knew what it felt like to feel like I need to hide it or have it looked down upon, which is why I think that any type of relationship, friendship, work relationship, romantic relationship, all of it is very important to see what you need and how you can show up even for yourself. With my first adult relationship, if I needed, something, I was scared to say it almost because, it would always be like, oh, you're making such a big deal out of this thing. And I'm like, am I? Maybe I am. Like, and you start to trick yourself, like, maybe it is me and it's not. But then I realized afterwards, that is not the case, and he's my best friend now, but we had our little fling or whatever in college, and it sticks with me to this day. And I think that's what really helps me. He says, Loren, if something is bothering you, you need to come and bother me. And like that right there, it changed how
you see things. Yeah. I love him for that. Tell him, you say you all are best friends.
Yeah, we're best friends now.
Yeah, tell him kudos for that. Like,
Yes.
can he teach that to all men?
Listen,
Like,
well, he's very different. He's also a musician and artist, or tend
oh,
to
so
be more
he's one of those.
sensitive.
I love those.
Yeah, so we're a little bit more like we
Yeah,
rather you we rather you come to us. We rather you do it
right.
because
Yeah.
honestly,
So
we're not
listen,
afraid of conflict.
it's
Like,
funny that you talk about that. My next question for you is, your story emphasizes that love is possible for us all. And
yeah.
clearly, you've had somebody love on you properly.
Mhm,
Okay. So, for someone who has struggled to believe that,
mhm.
what's the smallest, most personal step you think they can take to begin opening up to the possibility of love for themselves?
Okay. This is gonna sound very cliche, and I'm not gonna give the just love yourself because Bookie Bear that doesn't work all the time. But I will say be open when people are just showing you a little bit of love. And this is not always just the people that are closest to you, but I mean, like, literally, if you're out at the store and someone is just being kind and getting something for you, or I'll do that for you, let them. Please let them, because those little moments show that they at least see you worthy enough to do that. So you're worthy of that and more. And when you have to take those things in, or if someone speaks highly of you in a place where you don't see yourself just yet, you're not there just yet, and they say, I can tell that you're going to be something big, or they speak to a future version of you. Please do not reject it and say, oh no, da, da, da. No, no, no. Just say thank you. You don't have to believe it right now, but just keep it with you, and let that be the seed that is planted inside of you. You've got to let people that want to love on you.
I
Because
absolutely, yeah. And let me say that you were talking to the public, but you was also talking to me, okay? Because
I had to talk to me too at one point. So you gotta
because I'm
gotta let
one of those that's so used to doing, 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 and giving, giving, giving that
yes.
I'm not used to people wanting to dote on me. And one of the struggles that I have, which is why, we how we got to this book project
Yeah.
was, seeing myself the way others see me. So those are real struggles. And like I said earlier, I'm 45 years old. So I know that there are 20-year-olds that are still going through that as well. So
Yes, I feel like it's a universal experience. And especially in Black womanhood, and even just in the Black community, there's a lot that we have to fix, but at the core of it, it really is loving each other.
yeah,
That really is what it comes down to. Because both on both sides, or however you want to see it, we just feel misunderstood, and we feel like
absolutely.
no one else is going to get us. And
Not just misunderstood, but misunderstood and unappreciated. And
yeah,
that's all, and I'm
yeah.
speaking from both sides.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I because I have, colleagues, and I have friends, and
Mhm.
they have their stuff to say too. And I'm like, but you don't know what it's like on this side. And they're like, but you don't know what it's like on this
Yeah.
side. So it's
Yeah.
it's a
So,
constant like
and we have to be
listening.
mindful that, you know, sometimes like you, my favorite word from you, love in the flesh, okay? Everybody ain't love in the flesh.
And that's true. That
Yeah,
is true.
everybody ain't love in the flesh. And sometimes those interactions that we have, and I'm speaking from both sides of
Yeah.
this,
Mhm.
those interactions that we have with each other are not always loving interactions.
They're not. They're really not. And I think in those moments, and this is another practice of self-love, in those moments you have to know when to just be able to respect a person,
Mhm.
but withhold a certain level of love for them. Like, we have a saying sometimes, me and my friends will say, I love you like Christ loves the church. Like, we'll say that. But then we realize, well, Christ died for the church. Are we willing to, like,
Yeah,
but what we're saying is, I don't have to necessarily like you. That has
yeah,
nothing to do with it, but I will respect you.
yeah,
I will show you love in the basic, human kindness way. I can do that for you. But
yeah,
I think knowing when to scale back on how much love that you're willing to give out, because I really am that type of person. If you in my circle, the world is yours, boo. If I got it, you got it. And I love like gift giving. So my thing, don't let it be your birthday. Don't let it be, a big thing that didn't happen for you, because I am going to show up in that way. I'm probably going to be the loudest one in the room for you. And if no one else is in the room, I'm going to be there. So, it's always like, that's how I am. But I've come to realize that not everyone can be that,
That's right.
to me. And so sometimes I had to sit and be like, I can love this person, but I cannot keep showing up in the same way that I did, because I'm giving too much, and me not getting some of that back. Yeah, it hurts me to a certain extent. So I just adjust the way I show up, because hey, that's all you can do. So I think that's, it's not to say to be completely closed off, but to know your love's limits makes the difference. It really does.
Oh, I love that. You should know your love's limits. You should that, and that speaks to also being self-aware and understanding where your boundaries, where you
Oh
have to
yeah.
set up boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what was a moment where you truly felt yourself rise from love, where
Ooh,
you understood its power to lift you beyond your past limitations?
let me see. What was a really good moment? I think when I realized after my first go round of therapy, that I am not what another person, you know, thinks of me, and that I don't have to live up to that. Um, so after like my first round of therapy, I was dealing with, lots of heartbreak and everything else, and it was a really tough time. But it didn't change the essence of who I was. It didn't change me from being a person that loved to be kind, that loves humanity, that loves to serve people, that loves to see people smile. None of that changed. And so when I realized, like, you don't have to live up to this expectation of what they wanted you to be. You couldn't be that. Okay, because the only person you could be is yourself. So that was like my first
Right.
inkling of it, and I was like, okay, I didn't fully
It's
understand and
you.
then
Yeah.
grasp it yet. Okay, I was trying to make sure, because I know my Wi-Fi be acting weird downstairs. But I knew that part, and then later on, another person like he came into the picture, and we nothing ever came out of it. But we just had our little time, and when I tell you, I had not been treated like that, by a man, by a black man before, and it scared me. Like, in a way, it really did. Like, it's like on the inside, oh well, I deserve to be treated this way. But once you actually do start to be treated that way, you're like, whoa, like what's this?
But
What
see,
is this?
that speaks to the dating experience when
Yeah.
we say, hurt people.
Yeah.
So if you're out here in the dating world, just be mindful of that.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I try to always, I used to be a relationship coach a long time ago in one of my past lives. I try to encourage people, yeah, one of my past lives.
Come on, good many of an experience. I'm here for
You,
it.
you know how it is. Us multifaceted black women. I'm 40. Look, I'm 45 years old. There have been many past
And that's
lives.
all right.
So, what I try to encourage people is, especially through my therapy and through my coaching, is when you walk out of a relationship, don't be so quick to walk into another one. And if you're walking into another one, make sure it's a relationship with self. Become
Yeah.
self-aware, become self, be honest with yourself. Like, take a moment to evaluate the pros and cons of the last relationship that you were in, and actually hold yourself accountable for some of the things and ways that you moved, because then it makes you aware moving forward of how you can present yourself in a better way in your next relationship. But it also allows you to heal, because attaching yourself to another person right after you've detached from another person is not a
It's
good
not the way.
thing.
It is not the way.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm here with you on that, because like when I got out the first thing just kind of dissipated. Like and people laugh when I say that, but it's true. Like it just kind of poof. But that happened, and I did not want to even think about getting to anything else for like over a year and some change. I was completely like, no, because of all the things that it really did to me. But I will say that in my even in my healing journey from that, the thing that helped me most, and maybe this will help somebody out there, I had to make the constant decision every single day. I'm not going to hate him. I said I'm going to love him instead, and I'm going to acknowledge the love that I had for him. I said, because that's why it hurts, because I had a love for him. So
Mhm.
that is what I decided to do. And even to this day, I say, I'm just grateful that I was able to do that, because it helped me so much, and it helped me be more kind to myself when I realized, okay, yeah, when you did X, Y, and Z, that probably, made this person feel this type of way. Um, and I just noticed like the places where I probably did shrink, a lot in that too. And I said, oh,
Yeah.
that's a problem. But later on, it helped me to kind of stand firm. So when that next person like showed interest and genuine interest, um, and I tell guys straight up, I said, look, I'm spicy. I'll tell you that, within my first couple, because I don't want you to be taken surprise. I am spicy. There are going to be times where I just get like that. And the next guy that came along was like, that's all right. And I was outspoken and all of these things that I guess I felt like I couldn't have been before. And I said, I'm sorry if I want you to be offended. And he says, no, I like that you speak your mind. I like that you're this way. So just being appreciated was like completely different, because
Yes.
he wasn't asking me to change. If I had stayed just that way, he probably would have been like, all right, that's cool with me. Like, so just to
He
have
just loved
that.
you for who you were.
Yeah, and like we're
Yeah.
close to
Yeah.
this day because it's no bad blood, and that is something, I reached out to him on his birthday, and he was just like, it feels good to have genuine people, like in your corner. And so it's one of those things I think that you learn, as you go through these things, you learn about your compassion, you learn about your boundaries. And that particular I'll say as a relationship, it didn't really come to one, but that helped me really to rise, because he gave me a different outlook. Like
Mhm.
he spoke like, "Oh my gosh, you're just so amazing," and I'm like, "Amazing," you still, because sometimes you're still thinking it in that minimized way. And he was like, "Oh, you're this, you're that." Like, "Oh my goodness," and I couldn't see that for myself. But then after the fact, I said, "Wait a minute." I am this, I am that. And that's when I really started walking in it. So now, if you not at least meeting me, with that, and not in a cocky manner or anything, but if you're not like meeting me with just that level of understanding, then it's something that I don't need, because I'm no longer going to shrink myself, because I've had men in my life that have shown me, girl, do not shrink. I don't need you to shrink. If I wanted something else, I could have gotten that. That's not what I wanted. So it
Absolutely.
helps me know, like, I need to show up, because someone is out there looking for me, whether that is, friendships, whether that comes to a job,
Mhm.
whatever it is, someone is looking for this person. So,
Let me ask you this. In your story, you talk about releasing the past hurts that force you into isolation.
mhm,
And like you said, someone is looking for you. What
mhm.
was the most profound internal letting go you experienced that truly allowed you to connect more deeply, not only with yourself, but with others as well?
I think I really had to let go of feeling that I had to be completely perfect and pay what I'll say, pay the debt. So I always had this thing, and I still struggle with it to this day. But as you know, I've been in education. That's what I've studied. Um, and I would feel shame in some ways, or a little remorse when I feel like that I'm not becoming this educator that I feel like everyone invested, in me to be. But we're all different. Every educator is different, and I feel that way even when it comes to my grandparents and everything else. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know that they saw all of this for me, and I feel like I'm not that, and I feel like I needed to pay the debt, to make their sacrifice mean something. But then I realized, like, girl, you've already defeated many an odd, so you already have paid it back. You don't need to go and keep living in that. So I had to let go of feeling like I was indebted to all, of these people to realize their dream. And I had to let go of the feeling that I needed to be perfect. because there are no perfect people. And if someone is looking for you to be perfect to project onto you, is because they need something, I guess, to make, their limitations real. So I had to let go of that. Now I don't really feel the need to be perfect. I just feel the need to be authentic and perfect to me.
I love that. Say that again. Say that one more time for real. Repeat
I
it.
don't feel the need, to be perfect for anyone else. I feel the need to be authentic and perfect to me. That's really what matters.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was a word right there. That's why I had to make sure you repeated it. Because when I get ready to edit, I just want to make sure that I have that in there twice. Okay.
Listen, authenticity it's it right now. That's
Yes.
what I'm going for. So
Absolutely. So, Loren,
yes.
remothering yourself is a continuous journey. What is one simple yet profound daily practice or mindset shift that helps you constantly nurture and care for yourself in the way that you truly need?
Mm. I would say I would have to say that I really do practice not not pressuring myself to just constantly achieve. And it's hard. Like it really is hard, but that's what I do. Um because I don't need to. And I feel like another small thing in that, in remothering yourself, is actually allowing yourself to rest. And it's hard to do that as well. But I have to think in those terms. Like, even when if I'm not feeling the best, I have to say, you know what, you need to lay down. I have to speak to myself in the way that a mother would, talk to her child or treat her child if she wasn't feeling.
Right.
So that is what I do. And there are places, like in my life now and in my childhood, where my mother would stress, not always having to, you know, do so much. But I have to do it now because there are areas that my mother she's lived this life, but she hasn't lived it the way I have. So there's things that she hasn't done. And therefore, I have to say, okay, girl, we can't do this. We can't do that. It's all right. It's gonna be fine. And that's literally what I do to remother myself. And I speak to myself with love. If I need a little hug, I give myself a little hug. It's those small things. I didn't have a terrible mother. I had a great mother, so I had something to pull from. But I just had to, touch those areas that she wasn't the best in handling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
I get that. Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, how old was your mom? You said she was a little bit older when she had you.
Yes, my mother, she didn't start having children until her late 20s. So I think she had my older sister at 27. And then I came along around, what's that? Is she 32? She might have been 32.
Your mama
So
was not that old when she
no,
had
I say older is because I know a lot of people have their kids a lot younger. So
you.
my
You
mom,
had me.
like, when
You
she got
had me thinking you was like a menopause baby. Or
oh no, I'm not a
something.
menopause baby. But no, I just say older because I knew that, especially her peers, they had children, in their younger
So
years.
let me say this. It's not that she had you when she was older. We are in a culture in a time where we have normalized teenage pregnancy.
That is true.
And it's just that even from your grandmother's
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
it's been normalized
yeah,
and it's not okay.
yeah.
So
So that's what I really mean. But she had me in
yeah,
her early 30s.
yeah,
Um,
your mama had you when she was responsible, had
when she
already
was cool,
lived her
yeah.
life,
And
and
that's
was
why I tell people when they're like,
was financially able to take care
yes.
of her children. Okay.
Listen, and she still struggle a little bit, but it's just so funny because when I talk to some of my friends, I'm like, and we get on the topic of parents, and they're like, "Oh, how old is your mom?" And I say, "Oh, my mom is like 61." They're like, "Oh," like my mom does not look like she's in her
Hmm.
60s, but their parents are like 50 something, and
Yeah.
so they're like, "Oh." oh, okay, like they have that, like, oh, okay, girl. So that's what I'm used to. But yeah, so she had
No, we live in a time, and I'm not even gonna say a cultural thing because it's a society based
it
thing at
is,
this
it
point.
is, yeah,
Yeah, it's just people have normalized something that is not supposed to be normal.
yes.
So we think, oh, if somebody has children in their 30s, oh, you having a no, sweetheart, no.
I was like, maybe they're just doing it when they're supposed to,
Yeah, it's not okay to have a baby at 15, 16, and 17. It's not okay. And this coming from a teen mom, you understand? Like I had my son in my teenage years. So my son is very much like your peers when they ask, like, if somebody were to ask my son how old his mom is, my son is 26. He gonna say my mama 45. I often, like, when I go back and I talk to my child about some of the things he's experienced in his childhood, and I find myself apologizing to him, one of the things I often have to remind him is I grew up with you.
Yeah.
I grew up with him. So I was coming out of high school, and the following year I was a mother.
Yeah, so he's like, you had to figure it out, and he's like, I was doing both. So so it was that it is tough,
Yeah. Now, your story concludes with the powerful affirmation, we will rise from love, in love, and to love, which, girl, I loved your story. I ain't even gonna, you heard me say it. Okay. What does this core belief mean for your future actions and your personal legacy?
I think what it really means is that anything that I do from this point forward, I have to have a love for it. Like it really, that's at the simplest core, that like that's what it is. Um, I got into education because I had a love for the kids. But now I'm like, well, I have a different love for myself, and I need to show up, for myself. So everything that I do, I have to have that love as the motivation, because if I don't, then it is meaningless to me. I'm not going to want to do it. And so I have to have that thing. So yes, we're rising from love, meaning like if you want to do something, that's where it needs to come from. In love, when you're in the process of something at any given moment in your life, you need to make sure that you're treating yourself, kindly with love, and that you're living with love. And then to love, like, there are many levels to this thing, and if you want to embody love, you can't be afraid to let it out. You can't be afraid if it falls flat on certain places. I think our biggest fear is that people are not going to love us back, but sometimes if it doesn't stick, then it doesn't stick, but you gave out what you were supposed to. So that's really what it is, because it was your job to do so. If they don't want to accept it, then they don't accept it.
Say it again. They don't accept it. Stop begging people.
Right. If they don't accept it, then that's what it is. But you did what you were supposed to do. And so I think that that's a misconception when I see everyone like, oh, I love this person, they didn't deserve it. Who said that they had to deserve it? Maybe you're supposed to show them.
I was just going to say, sometimes God puts us in places to show people what love actually looks and feels like. And it's for those people who've never experienced it before. And it may hurt you, but just know that there was a lesson in it for you as well.
That's
and
right.
Maybe the lesson in that was you need to learn boundaries.
And it's true. Like, and that's why everything for me, everything is spiritual. And I don't feel like if you go through this life and you think that it's not, I don't understand how you live. Honestly, I don't get it. Me personally.
Listen,
because everything is.
One of the things that I am quickly learning, and I tell people, my healing journey is not yet. What, today is the 10th. Okay, so I am officially 10 days away from when I first published the first Dear Black Woman book. Okay. Oh. 10 days away from 365 days. Do you see everything God has done in my life in the past 365 days? The first Dear Black Woman book, this book right here, is actually a therapy assignment that I had to write because I had just started my healing journey. And it was love letters that I wrote to myself. And my therapist read it and said, it's a lot of women out here that feel like you, So, I was honest. I can't talk to nobody else but Black women.
Yes.
Hey.
Listen, and that's what you have to do though. And that project came from a sense of love, and that's
Yep.
exactly, like what I mean. So hey, you got to learn. That's what you put it out there, put your
Mm-hmm.
love out there, put these things out there, and people will take what they can take, from it. And that's just what it is at the
And
end of
sometimes what people don't understand is being obedient to God will also escalate you and propel you forward in so many different ways. So
Yes.
just being obedient, listening to what he has asked you to do, despite your fears,
Yeah.
despite, where you are in life or what you perceive to be
Yes.
those hindrances and things of that nature. God will always make sure that you are good and that you are okay if you are obedient to what he has designed for you.
Listen, that's true, and I think sometimes people think that that means smooth sailing. It does not. It doesn't. Um, and even with, and I will tell people this because it's such a profound thing, and some people have this insight, some people don't. I actually do. But my gift is intercession, so that means
Mm-hmm.
I'm a hearer. I can hear, and I can, and the war in spirit. That's what I do. And in my first, and I talk about my first relationship a lot because it was one of the first times where I was like, whoa, like I'm hearing things audibly. Like I would hear before, but
Yeah.
like it was different. Um, and I remember like first when I first got into it, I just prayed. I said, God, tell me what it's gonna be. I don't want to be surprised. Tell me what it's gonna be. And he told me exactly what was gonna happen. And true enough, that is exactly how it happened. And I said, okay, like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so after the fact, I was hurt, but I said,
Well, let me say this: what God does is, my story is very similar to yours. Listening to it is when you ask for it, it's delivered. Okay.
listen, he didn't spare anything. I said, okay. Like the some of the minor details he kind of,
Mm-hmm. But
but
the
what I
truth is
did,
the truth is
that's
the truth
right.
is
At
the
the end of the
truth.
day,
Yeah.
So he told me, he said, look, this is what's gonna happen here. You had probably about this much time, it's going to end. I said, okay. And I just let that be because I'm thinking it's going to be amicable. It's going to be this, is going to be that. But then there were times, this is also speaking to love because it shows how much God truly loves his children. I always say that he's a daddy's girl. I don't care what nobody say, God is a daddy's girl.
He is.
He is. He don't play about his daughters. But there
Mm-mm.
were so many times where in my spirit, like I would hear him say, you need to leave. You need to leave. You need to leave. But I couldn't discern between, is that my trauma speaking or is that him speaking? And it was hard because I was in something new and I was like, is it my fear talking or is it him? And it
It's
was
him.
multiple times and it would be like,
Mm-hmm.
you need to go. But I realized in that moment, he was like, daughter, I'm trying to give you an out and I'm trying to give you an opportunity to do it because when I have to step into this thing,
It's not gonna be good.
it's not gonna, it's not gonna feel the same way. I'm trying to let you, do it
I'm
as
trying. I'm
trying.
giving you them pieces and bits
Right.
to
But
walk away on your own. But if I have to force you away,
and
it's
that's what you
not
can
going
do.
to be the way you desire it to be. Girl, you speaking to the choir right
Listen,
now.
and he
Okay.
did what he had to do. And I said, but you know what? I said, I know why he did it. He said, because he knows that his daughter is faithful to a fault. So he said, let me get you out of that. Because
Girl,
girl,
listen. You ain't told no lies right there. Because I'm going to tell you how that book came about. It's because God removed me from a situation that I would not remove myself from.
and
You
that's the thing. And I
understand?
said, and that type of love right there,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that realizing God's love in your life, if it's hard sometimes, but if you just look back over the course and you see his hand and you see how much love, that is really how you can create these type of projects, and that is how you can start the process of remothering and everything else, because it's a lot of forgiveness that has to happen, but you got to see like God loved me enough, so I
Yeah.
might as well love myself.
Yeah.
Love.
Like one of the things I remember when I was coming, and let me say this was a journey for me.
Mhm.
I left Texas with nothing and moved back home to Atlanta with just my clothes. On the way here, you know how we pray that prayer when we're on our last desolate and we're feeling some type of way. My
Yeah.
prayer was, I don't want to be a soldier no more. Take all of this away.
Take it away.
Take it away. I just want to live a normal life. And you know how you just said you're intercessory. You hear things. You know the word. I'm a visionary. I see things. I was being shown things and told, could hear the voice very clearly telling me this ain't for you.
Mm-hmm.
This, and being shown little things to let me know that
Yeah.
this was not this is not where I desired you to be. I didn't lead you here. You led yourself.
Yeah. Listen, because he gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
And that's hard sometimes, because in that thing, especially in the first beginning, I measured them up against the word, and I said, okay, I'm gonna put this person up against the word. Let me see how they measure. And at the time, they kind of did, but then as stuff started going on, I said, hold on, who is
But that lets you know
yeah,
the illusion of man. And I'm not saying men, period.
right?
I'm saying man, because
Yes,
it can happen to a man or a woman, but the illusion of man and
yes.
how if you are a light source, and I've used this many times, and I talk about it in different phases. If you're a light source, darkness is always attracted to you. If you are a peaceful source, then chaos always surrounds you. If you are a loving source, then you're going to be faced with a lot of hate.
Yep.
So those things, those are natural balances. And sometimes we get so caught up in who we are and the things that what we experience eternally that we miss some of the signs, we miss some of the things that God is trying to show to us, to tell us, hey, this ain't the space you're supposed to be in.
Listen, and he will do it every time, and I would literally hear it, and I'd be like, oh, okay, or if I would worry, and I'd be like, what is going on, with him, and he would tell me exactly where he was, what he's like, he would just tell me, and I was like, that was him showing me so much love.
Let me show you something. Let me show you God's love, okay?
Okay, show it to me, girl.
For 3 years, I was in a relationship with a man that told me I was of no benefits to anybody. Though I left there in May, got here in June, published a book in July. Look at where we are right now. It hadn't been 365 days. And I benefit the whole world right now.
Yep.
So be very careful where you put yourself based on your desires and your needs versus where God wants you to be. Because when God puts you in a place where he wants you to be, you excel and grow. But when you put yourself in a place that your desires want you to be, you will disappear, you will die, and you will just fade away.
Listen, and that is so true. That's why I say you got to stay rooted, And I know it's not popular right now. I know that the main consensus of the world, they want to turn their back on them. That's fine, but that's for me and mine. I cannot.
Here's the thing. I think a lot of people have what we know as religious trauma, and I get that. They've dealt with judgment and persecution from the church, but the same statement that you just said, I love you like Jesus loved the church. People need to be very mindful, because I caught that when you said it, okay? I knew exactly what you meant. It's a love-hate relationship between Jesus and the church. Yes, he loved the people of the church, but he did not love the ideology and the ways of the church. So it was almost like I can love you from a distance, but he died for all of us, the church, the people outside the church, the people in the gutters, the people in the street. That's what he laid on the cross for.
Okay, and he did, and I think tapping, into that. Sometimes, even when I don't feel love, if I can't even produce it for myself, I'll go back and I'll listen, or read the word. One of my favorite songs to listen to when I just need to feel that connection, is by Tasha Cobbs Leonard, and it's called "I Will Do It Again."
I know this song.
That's my song right there, and after I heard it, I think it was after I was in prayer at a certain time. And I asked him, I said, Jesus, why did you do it? Because see, me on the other hand, if I had all that power you had, baby, would have got up off that thing. I would have got up off that thing, started walking, said, hey,
let me tell you something.
You are who you are.
I was just going to say, now, Loren, I'm about to give it to you from this perspective.
Listen, I said, but that's me. I said, that's me talking, but this was you. And I said, you
We got
got a
it.
different
Jesus
way.
was being real unselfish. Yeah.
But that was also why he came here. He knew that's why he came here, so he had to fulfill the mission. But I was like,
Yeah.
listen, but I said, God, well, why'd you do it? Like, I really would want to know, because when you start thinking about like how messed up you can be sometimes and how mean you can, be, we all can be that way. Not, meaning to be, we just can. Um, and I said, well, why did you do it? And he said, for this moment right here, he said, you see how I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. And I said, yeah. He said, I would have missed this had I not done, what I was called
Hmm.
to do. And he
Hmm.
said, I would do it again. He said, if I had to come back and I had to do it again, he said, I would do it all over again. It wouldn't have changed anything for me. And so just knowing like, goodness, like you was hanging up there and thinking about me, I wasn't even a thought, even a inkling yet, but just to know I was still on his mind. And so to know that, and I think that's also helps me in my life path, is to know I've always existed.
Yeah.
It's not just I just got here. No, like even if we're talking on a biological level, we are in our grandmothers at one point,
Yep.
because how girls are and how our,
Yep.
so to know that, and I said, okay, so my grandmother was carrying me. That
Hmm.
means all these other women were, and I said, baby, I've always existed. I was always in the plan. So, and I think
Well,
that,
that's the thing. You here, you on earth. You know
right.
you
And
was
I
a
said, I
part of
was
that plan.
always,
Yeah. You was always a part of the
I was
plan.
always a part of the plan. And when you
Yeah.
look at life from that perspective, it's like, who can really take anything from you? Who can really take your sense of love or your beingness from you? You have always existed. You were always destined to be here.
Yes.
So that's how you got to look at it. So no one can say, "Oh well, oh you're not going to be a benefit." Who says? Because I was always a part of the plan. I
Absolutely.
was always a part.
So, listen, for Black women listening who feel burdened by past wounds or yearning for self love, what
Yes,
is one simple yet profound shift in perspective or in action you would encourage them to take today?
I would encourage them. I would say you got to start loving who you are in this moment, however that may look, honey. Like sometimes it's not so much, oh my gosh, I just love everything about me, because that ain't true. Like you're not gonna do that. But you gotta find that one thing, because we all have that one particular thing. So let's say children are drawn to you, okay?
Mhm.
Boom. We'll take that. You can say, I love the way how I draw children, how I attract them. There's something about me that makes them come to me. And if you are that person, whether it be children, animals, people who are very, very sensitive, or beings that are very, very sensitive to spirit and everything else, you have to realize that means I got something good. I have good stock. It's not all, amiss. So
Yeah.
finding that one thing, or even on your job, if people come to you for that one small thing, you're like, wait a minute, I love that I'm able to go and do this right here. This is a good thing about me. So you have to find that one thing and water that one thing until it can bloom to other areas.
I love that because I'm often saying Black women are like flowers. We
Mhm.
just need to learn how to grow and water each other together.
Yes.
Yeah, because
That's
we are all so diverse and so different, but we are all so unique and so beautiful. So
yes. And that's what you got to do. I would tell anybody that, find your one thing.
yeah.
Find it.
Now, the Dear Black Woman platform emphasizes that your voice matters, your healing is possible, and your story is worthy of space. What does it mean for your unique voice, with all its wisdom and all the vulnerability that you put out there, to be amplified and honored in this sacred space that we're creating?
It means the world to me. I've always kind of struggled with, just like, okay, is what I have to say important? Is my voice really profound? Um, and I've just have, even as a singer, I always thought, well, especially in college, oh, I don't sound like them. So because I don't sound like them, then I'm not gonna be, like too much accepted, because it's an unfair politic that was played there too. It was
I'm about to
unfair.
put Loren on the spot again, y'all.
Well, don't do that. Don't do that.
I
Don't do
am,
that.
I am, because
Baby,
you just popped out with another little talent that I did not know
listen,
nothing about.
listen, because
Yep.
honestly, I had to start making music a thing that was just for me again. Um, and that's for right now. That's just what I how I like to keep it. But
So I'm going to give you a challenge, and I'm going to tell you what I want. Okay.
okay,
Now, I've already transformed, because those of you who've listened to the show or who follow me on any social media know that we are converting this first volume of the Dear Black Woman Project into a stage play. Now, if you attend the gala, you're going to get the experience of hearing a reading from the stage play. I want you to go to, and I dropped it in the WhatsApp group, okay? There is, I've already converted Miss Anne Marie's version of her story into the script for the stage play. But I wrote a song about Miss Anne Marie. So I'm going to give you an option, ma'am.
okay,
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and convert your story, not for us to share at the gala, but
okay.
for you, for two reasons. Either I'm going to write a song for you to sing, or you're going to write a song for you to sing.
Listen, like I said, I gotta pray about it because
Yeah, go ahead,
me.
go ahead. Listen, I wrote a song for Miss Anne Marie, and she was like, first she asked me, she said, who's the person so I can go download the song? Where'd you get this song from? I said, Miss Anne Marie, I wrote that. And she was like, what? I said, yeah, I wrote it. And I said, all I did was plug it into a couple of different AI apps and have singers bring it to life for me. And I used it on one of the marketing videos that I did for her.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Listen, the thing about that's I'll tell anybody now. I will tell anyone I don't do solo because I love being a part of the collective. So
Okay.
I'll sing in choirs and everything else, and that's fine with me. But that's how I like to lend my voice because I love just being a part of that.
Okay, that's fine. Say less.
That's just me though. I know.
You ain't say less, because there's a couple of other singers in the group.
Like if it's a group thing, I'm
Yeah,
like, okay,
I got a
you
Dear
know.
Black Woman song. Don't worry about it. I got you. You say less, okay? Already, Charlita gonna be playing the piano at the brunch. Listen, listen.
Well, listen, that's what I'm saying. But like, just giving or having or knowing that your voice really is important.
Mhm.
It's been very humbling and it's been freeing as well. I've always been told that I have a very distinct voice, even talking voice. Like people are like, oh girl, I'll be knowing when it's you when you down the hallway. Like even if you're not loud, I know when it's you because I'm not the loudest, but
Yeah.
they're like, you just have a very distinct, voice. And I'm like, what does God want to use that for? So, even in my writing voice, people can tell when it's me, writing, versus other people. So, um, yeah, it's been a lovely gift to
Yeah. So if you've been given the talent,
I know they say if you don't use it, you lose it. So
okay, hold on, wait a minute. Don't make me pull parables from the Bible, okay?
not the
To
parables.
talk, to talk about the
The parable of the
talent,
talents.
okay? Don't make me go there with you. And you know how God feel about if He give you a talent and you
Gotta
don't
use. Listen,
use.
but I felt like because I've taught music the past 5 years, I've used my voice. Like it's not that I haven't. I've
No, no,
used
no, no,
my
no, no,
children.
no, no, no.
I
Watch this.
sing.
Everybody does not get the talent of singing. Okay, so if you have been giving that talent, it's there for a reason. And you've
Yeah.
also been given the talent of writing, which means that those two are interchangeable and they go together because you write poetry, which in essence could be turned into songs.
And they can,
Yeah.
I just
So your
voice though,
voice, yeah,
I just
you've
love
been.
to be a part of the whole. That is what fuels me. I
Mhm.
love it. I've always been a choir girl. I probably will never stop being a choir girl because
So
that
even if you take, so like one of the things that's going on right now is, what is it? I think it's the Indiana Baptist College versus,
Oh, yes, I know a lot
yes.
about that.
So
That's
for instance, that's a possibility for you to write choral arrangements because
yeah, we had to take arranging in college, and that
yeah.
was just like my thing because I was I'm a vocalist, and we had to kind of pick, and so that was never my thing. But one of my best friends, they do arrangements all the time. That's what they do. So if I
So
ever wanted to get into that, I could
turn
dabble.
one of your songs into a choral arrangement.
Listen, I think he said that that's something that he wants to do later on down the line. He was like, because he does it for band right now, for marching band. But
Mhm.
he was like, I would love, eventually down the line to do those types of work. So it's a different level of calling and concentration to put that
Mhm.
stuff together.
I know it. I was a music major. I
Yeah,
know it.
it's
Yeah.
a different level. Like I'm like, I got to think of the theory and the chord structure and the this and the that. Like,
So here's the thing. The easiest part is to start with the melody in your heart.
oh
Okay.
yeah.
Because God is going to give you everything else that you need. It's not what you think, it's what's being provided for you. I
Mm.
promise you that. And the reason I say that is because, ma'am, I didn't think I would have a magazine. I didn't think I would be having chapters of Dear Black Woman. I don't even know some days what to do with myself. And I genuinely, when I meet people, I tell them, I'm not driving this bus. I'm just a passenger, just like you.
Mhm.
You just happen to get on after me. I was given the plan, the purpose, and everything to implement it, but I'm not in charge. I wake up every day and say, "What we doing today, God?"
Okay. What we doing today? Like literally.
Yeah, like what we
Literally.
doing today, and like, even what's funny is when you get off this call and you jump in that WhatsApp group, you're gonna see that I've been talking about you the whole time we've been on.
listen, listen, and it's so funny because really and truly, I'm one of those. I love to fly under the radar. That is my thing because I like my
Mhm.
peace. I like my solitude. But just how like I feel like I was called to do this even when I don't even know if I shared it, but I actually did some guest lecturing. Yeah, I did. I
Yeah,
did some
you
guest
did. I was
lecturing.
gonna say, I think you
I
told me.
think I
Yeah,
told you.
yeah.
And even then, I didn't ask for that thing. I think I had prayed and I said, God, I would just really like to, do the work that I'm passionate about. I just want opportunities to do the work that I'm passionate about. And Dr. Davis, she reached out to me. She was one of my students' mothers. And she reached out to me and was like, I'm, putting together this Black History and STEAM thing, but I needed, a section, for women to talk about Black women. And I didn't know, I knew I wouldn't do it justice. And I didn't really have anyone else. So I said, wait a minute, Miss Simon has her degree that she can go and, do X, Y, and Z. And so, we had our meetings and our calls and things happened, but it turned out how it was supposed to. And that experience too was really invigorating because I'm like, these kids were actually listening to what I had to say. And, they found some importance in it. And so that right there was another thing where I was like, okay, God, you gave me that opportunity to show up and do, what I cared about. So I
And
am
it's
appreciative.
gonna keep coming.
Oh yeah.
It's going to keep coming. And again, visionary, sweetie. So I see stuff. That's why I say stuff. Like people be thinking I just be saying stuff to say it. No.
No,
Mm-mm.
but I do I take it. I just know that like my
Yeah.
my path is it just be a little slower. I don't even
Mhm.
call it this point being a what they call a late bloomer. I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
It
it's not.
doesn't it
It ain't.
doesn't matter. You got people in their 60s living their dreams right now because they
Right.
finally decided to just let go.
Yeah.
Okay. So when the task is put in front of you, and we have to stop, and even though I say it's a task, when the purpose, when the vision is put in front of you, when the words are being said to you, when the talent is so clear,
Mhm.
you sometimes have to say, okay, let me get out of my own way
Mhm.
and look at what God is going to do for me. We ask for things and we will be the ones to stop our own paths moving forward. That's
Yeah.
why I said I'm this year has been about obedience and letting go. And
Yeah.
I'm just watching. I'm so terrified every day of what because all this stuff is just happening so rapidly. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but I'm obedient, I'm open, and I'm also just doing
Mhm.
what God told me to do.
Yeah. And that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And I think even writing this, when I said no, I'm not sure, and then I think God was like, "Go ahead and do it. Go
Mhm.
ahead and do it." And I was like, "Okay," you know. So it's been a blessing, to have been able to do this. And I know this is going to. It might not even affect that many at the current moment, but just how we enjoyed the Alice Walkers, the Toni Morrisons, the Zora Neale Hurstons, for the years to come, when
So
they.
here's the thing, all of you all, every last one of you all have a talent and have a gift that God is about to put on display and present to the world,
Yeah.
whether you want it to or not. That's just what's happening in the process of this project. And that is also a part of my purpose, also a part of my plan. And what I mean by that is God's plan and design for my life. He created a platform for me to showcase and highlight Black women.
Mhm.
So that means that also making sure Black women have the confidence to be showcased and to be highlighted, because so many of us have been told what we shouldn't do, what we can't do, how we should look, how we should show up, how we, be quiet, don't do this, don't do that. And in this space, that's not the case.
Yeah.
In this space, in this time where we are, and what God has provided for us all is a platform where you get to be your authentic self, show up in any way that you desire to show up. Like we talked about off camera, I
Yeah.
ain't never come on this podcast with makeup or nothing. Yeah, so show up how you desire to show up, but
Yeah.
just utilize the talents and the gifts that He has given you to be a resource for other Black women as well.
That's right. That's all you can do. And I think, just when I do post, about what I have going on, and people who either work with me or some of my students now, because they're many adults. They're just like, I say many because they're only 18, like they're many adults. They're like, oh my gosh, like they're just so, like over the moon. They're like, oh my
We
God.
gotta get, you know what I gotta find for you? We gotta pair you with a corporation or a business so that we can get somebody to buy a table for your students to come to this event.
Listen, I mean, they probably would love that, and I would have to tell them
Yeah.
like, hey, because especially like my girls, and
Yeah, I mean, but to be
I love.
honest, this is an event that they need to come to. This
Yes,
is something that they need to be at. They need to see you being honored, but they also need to see a variety of Black women being honored as well, and just see all of the things that Black women are capable of doing. Celebrating from the art gallery, the art displays that we have, all the way to the performances, to the speakers, just a wide variety of Black women. And within this co-author group, we have a wide age range.
yes,
Eternity being 22 all the way up to 70. So Eternity just graduated from college.
yeah,
So this is an opportunity for them to see someone who is literally
hmm,
just leaving the path that they're about to start, also being highlighted and honored, and
yeah,
telling her story even as young as she is.
hmm.
Yeah.
That's I think it's important to know that we all have something to give. And these are things that you reference at multiple points in your life, and I think that's what I love most about literature is that you can read it at 20
Yeah.
and it's going to hit different, at 24. It's
Yeah.
going to feel different at 27. So, because as you
You
live,
know what you're making me about to go do? And
well,
I've literally read this book every decade of my life. I'm going back to grab The Bluest Eyes.
listen and reread it because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's
Reread it at
so
45
amazing. Yeah.
because it hit different when I was in high school. And then when I reread it at 20, it was a different meaning. And then in my 30s, because for some reason, I always go and pick that book back up. That book, and there's a book called Nobody's Coming to Save Us.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm always redrawn to. And The Bluest Eyes has always been one of my favorite books. But you're gonna make me go back and pick it up at 45, reread it, and probably it's a message in it for me right now.
Listen, it's and that's the thing about good literature, and
Mhm.
and the process, because she wasn't just pumping out these books, in 5 months time. Like, these were books that took years, to write. And so being able to go back and look and get those nuances and those different, lessons and everything, it's a beautiful thing. And it's the same way, with music too. You go and listen to something one time and it's completely different when you go back and you listen to it at a different time. And so that, listen, I'm never just a passive listener or reader. It just, I'm always catching
Yeah.
something.
And I noticed that things that I am revisiting often, there are often several messages that were unclear at different phases of my life that become more clear as you get older or as you gain wisdom. And you
Yes.
also see things from a variant perspective as well.
Hmm.
Yeah,
You do. And
you
it's
do.
important. It's very important. I think, and I hope that our readers take the same thing, like, from this
I'm
book.
filing this book with the Library of Congress for a reason, okay?
This is,
I
I hope
need
they take the
I
same
need
thing.
yes, I need 50 years from now somebody to look this book up and be like, let me read this and be like, oh my God, this is my story right now.
Yes,
Yes.
because we always think that, we're just the only ones experiencing something until you
No,
realize, no,
no.
this is a common.
See, it was important. Somebody asked me how I came up with the concept of writing to your inner child. And I trust and believe it wasn't something that was on my mind. This was a God thing. Okay. And the reason why I felt the need to do that was because of the trauma I had to address
Mhm.
when I came back home. It wasn't trauma from past relationships. It wasn't trauma from anything I had been through in this phase of my life.
Mhm.
It was trauma that I had to address from my childhood, the
Mhm.
things that I walked away from and suppressed so I
Yeah.
wouldn't have to deal with them. And
Mhm.
one of the things I often tell women is, when you reach the age of 40, everything that you have suppressed and everything that you have, sort of tried to ignore or put in the back of your mind, it all starts to come up.
Mhm.
It all starts to come up, and you're going to have to address it anyway. I also wanted, when people to read this story, I wanted the little girl in them to also feel healed. That's why when I told you guys, I was like, hey, think about it like this. If that little girl is sitting right next to you, I don't care what phase of life she's in, you can write to the little Loren, the teenage Loren, the 20-year-old Loren, write to her and tell her what she needs to hear, because you know what she's been through, but she doesn't know what you've been through.
That's right. And I think that's what where the whole, even though I kind of
Mhm.
knew going into it, because I said, like, girl, what is going to be your thing?
Yeah.
And I had said, I know exactly what it's going to be,
Yeah.
So, but that's what it came from. That's where the whole concept of remothering, came from. Because there were times, where you're like, gosh, I really wish, that they weren't afraid to, to stand
Yeah.
up, in that way. But as you get older, you start to understand. I told my mother, I said, Mama, I understand. I understand why you did it. I get it. I said, I just wanted to let you know that can't be me. But I understand why you did it. And she was like, I wouldn't have wanted that to be you. That's not,
Yeah. Yeah.
what the plan was. So it's just been it's been very revolutionary work that I feel
Good.
I have written.
Well, Loren, I just want to say thank you, first of all, for being a part of the project.
No problem.
Thank you for sharing your incredibly tender and powerful journey of remothering and yourself and your journey of self love.
Yeah.
Your story is a reminder that we all have the capacity to heal our inner child and rise from love, in love, and to love. And again, I told you, my line from your story is I'm love in the flesh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, honey.
Yeah. You listen, show up in September and that might be tattooed on me. Okay. Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
listen.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about getting it like because there's a mark on my arm where a piece of glass went through my arm and the shape of it, the shape of the scar is in the shape of a heart. So what I would
See,
tell
you
people is,
gotta go and get it on them.
yeah, I said I wear my heart on my sleeve, literally.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's why when I was, and I've been thinking about it in this little space right here, getting love in the flesh. Yeah,
Listen, do it. I would say, go ahead and do it,
yeah.
girl.
So we gonna show it, and then when I be like, okay, we got to take a picture. Let me roll my sleeve up so Loren can see this tattoo that I got. Yeah.
Listen, I'm all here for it.
Yeah, because that's I mean, and I not to play favoritism, but I read everybody's story, but that was the line that stuck out the absolute most for me, and I was like, that I'm gonna be using it, and I have used it. I just needed to let you know that I've been using it, so
And it's all right. It's
so
all right.
in case you heard me say it to somebody.
But that's what it's meant to. You gotta start saying that this what these are for. You gotta start
Yes.
saying stuff to yourself.
Listen, let me tell you something. And that's why I said when people read it, it's gonna be stories and line that resonates with them. And that line was definitely one that resonated with me. And I was just like, you know what, Loren, you were absolutely right.
I'm happy. I'm happy that it touched you. I really
Yeah.
am, because I submitted it was just like, okay. I said I did my part, God. You do the rest. I did what I did.
And that's why I told people, I said, y'all forget, I done read the whole book already. Like,
And I was like, "He's God. Here you go." This
yeah, I've read the entire book. I'm about to read it again this weekend because I'm about to start back re-editing it. Yeah, so that's what I was like. I've read the book. Right now, what I'm trying to figure out, I'm figuring out flow and formatting and whose story sort of intertwines into the next story and what makes sense and all of that. Because each of you ladies have written just beautiful pieces and shared your hearts and shared your stories and shared such an amazing thing with the world. So I'm super excited about the release of this book. I'm super excited about this gala. So I'm just like, yes.
Yes. Yes, this has been a wonderful experience. And I thank you for allowing me to take part in it.
Girl, thank you for answering that post, okay?
Listen, obedience.
Listen, I tell people Threads is powerful. I don't know what they doing on Twitter, but if you want to make some stuff shake and you want to get something going, Threads is playing, okay? Don't let Elon hear me say that too loud, because Mark Zuckerberg might throw something in that algorithm to mess us up. But at this point in time, that algorithm is algorithming, okay? So, but Loren, thank you so much again for your time. Thank you for agreeing to do this. Thank you for being on the podcast, okay?
It's been fun. It's my first podcast, and it's been fun. So.
Well, don't let it be your last, because we produce 5 other podcasts, and you're an author now. So go sign up to be on Miss Angel podcast too. Hold on, wait. Get used to using your voice to speak.
I guess so.
You want to be a speaker, ma'am? Let's build that speaker reel, okay?
Listen, we'll see what God has. If He say do it, then that's different.
The reason I say you already out here speaking and saying you want to, be a stage speaker, go ahead, build your speaker reel. Let people know who you are. Take clips from these podcasts that you are a part of, put them together, show your best voice, and utilize that to market yourself out here to people and get you in front of more people to speak about whatever topics it is that you want to speak about.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's all. Just use these different modalities that are free to put together something that is going to work for you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, listen, you guys, Loren's story is just like many other Black women's. And if you've ever been carrying old wounds or longing for deeper self acceptance, know that your path to healing and self love is very possible. Listen, follow the Dear Black Woman podcast because this season we are highlighting all of the beautiful women that are a part of the Dear Black Woman anthology project. Wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, YouTube, you can find us there, even iHeartRadio and Amazon. So share this episode with someone whose healing begins with hearing someone else's story. And as always, be gentle with your story and be bold with your voice. Until next time, stay grounded, stay present, and stay whole.